How do you judge the success of a game? Today we will be looking at one of the PlayStation 1's most beloved games to figure out how it withstood the test of time when so many others did not. Games don't just create themselves though, so we need a little bit of backstory about its creator, Tokuro Fujiwara. Fujiwara was a powerhouse, even in his early career, with many games under his belt. After leaving Konami to work at Capcom, he worked as either a director or producer for games like Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Final Fight, and 15 different Mega Man games. During his time at Capcom, Fujiwara worked on one of the world's first survival horror games, a 1989 role-playing game called Sweet Home. The game roughly follows the plot of the movie Sweet Home, which was in production at the same time. Both feature a group of filmmakers scrounging up supplies as they explore an abandoned manor, with the game showing one of several endings based on which characters survive. His experience working on Sweet Home inspired him in 1993 to create a proposal for what would become the first Resident Evil game. At the time, he thought that it would be a niche game for horror fans and expected to sell around 200,000 copies. But between its 1996 release and the end of 1997, it had already sold more than 4 million copies and would eventually lead to the creation of more than 25 sequels and spin-offs. But Fujiwara wasn't there to experience the game's success firsthand. He had left in 1995 just before the launch date. After 13 years of working at the gaming giant, he had done what many of us dream of doing. He forged his own path and resolved to create things on his own terms. Founding his own studio would give him the freedom to bring his own new and original ideas to life. You can feel this freedom in the name he chose for his new company, Whoopee Camp. Their website even confirmed it. Whoopee, as in a cry of delight. The new studio's work paid off in 1997 when they released their first game, Tomba, or Tombi in Europe. The game follows, Tomba, as he goes on a quest to find his grandfather's golden bracelet, which was stolen by evil pigs. Tomba was nothing like Resident Evil. Given the freedom to create their own original game, Tomba was designed with a cute and cartoonish anime aesthetic. The cutscenes and gameplay are bright, vibrant, and eye-catching. The environments are whimsical and fun. The graphics themselves were a unique feature. With consoles like the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 on the market, most studios were making fully 3D games. Tomba set itself apart by combining 2D sprites with 3D scenes in a way similar to Paper Mario, despite predating Paper Mario by nearly 3 years. This combination of 2D and 3D art actually blends together very nicely without attracting too much attention to itself. The movement in Tomba is also fairly unique. Players can run, jump, swing, and dive in multiple directions, but they can also jump into and out of the background, or flip their perspective around depending on the setting. These features bring the open world of Tomba to life. Players can explore and collect items from many different regions, even if they don't have exactly what they need to complete every objective in that area. In Tomba, objectives are called events, which take the form of quests, riddles, and challenges. They vary in difficulty from helping a lost frog return home to defeating one of the evil pigs that plague the land. If you're a completionist, then I will give you some non-spoiler information that will help you complete all of the events in one playthrough. First, make sure you hold on to at least one lunchbox. You'll need one later in the game. Second, don't speak to this character in the jungle until you have what you're supposed to deliver to them. Besides those two events, none of the content is missable. You can play through the game at your leisure, exploring and solving puzzles as the developers intended. And it does seem like the developers were having fun. Their website had a voice section where you could get to know the team, a developer diary where staff would talk about their daily lives, and a Whoopee Camp BBS, or bulletin board system, sort of like an online forum, dedicated to game discussion. There was a time in gaming history where the game or studio's website was the best place to find information about the game before release. You were even able to download desktop wallpapers. Official desktop wallpapers were just a thing that studios did back then to hype up their game. 1998 saw the creation of the Tomba Club in order for Whoopee Camp to build their community and recruit playtesters for Tomba 2. Members received a Tomba Club card and were signed up to receive the Tomba Press publication by mail. The club cards are now an extremely rare item, and the Tomba Press publications are lost media because they were not archived anywhere and could only be obtained for a short period of time in Japan. Tomba 2 was released in 1999 and was well liked by fans and critics. It featured fully 3D assets in order to allow for dynamic camera movement. Despite being well received, it didn't sell as many copies as the first game. Whoopee Camp was working on a survival horror game for the PlayStation 2 called Extermination in 2000 when the company was dissolved and development was taken over by Deep Space Incorporated. One of the last things posted to the studio's website was a link to the Deep Space page for the upcoming game. The series remained dormant for 11 years before Sony re-released Tomba on the PlayStation Network, where it was one of the best-selling games in the PS1 Classic series. So many other classic games were being re-released on PC at the time, but I didn't expect that Tomba would ever be one of them, given how long Whoopee Camp had been out of business. The price of a genuine Tomba game disc was rising rapidly as fans' love for the game competed with the reality that few copies had been sold of both Tomba and Tomba 2. Elsewhere on the internet, fans of the series were gathering. By 2020, fans had established their own Tomba Club, including a Discord server, Twitter account, YouTube channel, website, and wiki. The Discord server is full of discussions about localization differences, unused content, secrets, bugs, ROM hacks, and original fan art. They even recreated the Tomba Club members card based off the one known image of the original card. Then in 2023, Limited Run Games announced that they were working with Fujiwara to re-release Tomba. Limited Run Games is a company specializing in limited quantity physical game releases, usually utilizing their Carbon engine, an engine which uses emulators to run older games on modern hardware. It was a move that I definitely didn't expect, and I was still a bit skeptical that we would get this re-release. Then in 2024, Tomba Special Edition was released as promised for PC, Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. The game is emulated, so it plays almost exactly the same as the original, with a few small differences. The save system has been changed to allow for saving anywhere and at any time, which can make the game easier than intended in certain areas. The soundtrack has also been reimagined by its original creator, Harumi Fujita, who has returned for the remaster. You can freely switch back and forth between old and new soundtracks. There are plenty of other goodies built in. You can sample tracks in the music player for both old and new soundtracks. View design documents and concept art in the gallery, as well as watch interviews with both Fujiwara
そこでやりたいことがあって、で、それを表現する上において今度
and Fujita.
トンバの中で好きな曲がカーレースの曲なんですけども。
I'm also happy to report that Limited Run Games also plans to release Tomba 2 sometime in 2025. I haven't been able to find an exact release date yet, but it will likely be sometime after the June 16th re-release of the Gex trilogy, which is also exciting. Tomba is back, but for fans, he never really left. There is an infectious love for our pink-haired hero. Some of the fans have been with him since the beginning. Others found Tomba later in life. As I work on this script, the Discord server is buzzing with discussions about the first wave of official physical merchandise released in the last 20 years. Not every game gets this kind of treatment. Tomba's dedicated following after nearly 30 years is a testament to the impact it has had on those who enjoy it. Maybe the success of a game shouldn't be measured by how many copies it sells, but by how it makes people feel. Whoopee Camp's freedom to create something new and exciting allowed them to make a game that captivated a generation of gamers, despite selling less than the 150,000 copies required to reach greatest hits status. Although it wasn't a greatest hits game for Sony, it will always be a greatest hit to me. And that is why we love Tomba. I originally planned to get this video out much sooner, but I wasn't happy with the script as it was, so I overhauled it completely. Sometimes it takes a few iterations to make something you're proud of. I also haven't forgotten about Codename Gordon. I reached out to somebody else at Valve a few days ago, and hopefully I hear back from them. If not, I have another few plans in place. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. I plan to create more videos about gaming and tech in the future. Thanks for watching. May you find your calling and pursue it with the same intensity that Tokuro Fujiwara does.
Yeah.